we got a platoon lieutenant in one time, a platoon leader, Lieutenant Jackson. He was from West Point. He was a airborne ranger, played tackle on the football team. He comes. We're there. Lieutenants rotate in and out. And now, he's a ranger. He's gung-ho. He wants to win the war all alone. Right. And we're trying to calm him down. But one thing he did, he gets there. He's a West Point guy. First time in the field, he calls the squad leaders, me, Sonny, and Harbottle. Yeah. He sits down. He says, "What have I got to do?" And we'd get some newbie in there, just start giving orders, and they wouldn't last long, And he said, "What have I got to do? You guys tell me what I got to do." Which was great till he got his feet under him. Then he was figuring out, coming up with ways to do shit, Yeah. But boy, he was a hell of a guy, and oh man. And I was going home. Well, he was with us for like 2 months. Yeah. And then they gave him a recon company or platoon, yeah. Which just went out, snuck around in villages and went looking. They did some hairy stuff. Yeah. So in ambushes, and we could listen to his radio because he was Echo Company. We listened to his radio. This guy was crazy. Yeah. We knew he was crazy anyway. Yeah. But Captain Jackson. So I'm going home. He's coming back from R&R. He went to R&R in Australia. Yeah. And he sits down. We're having a beer. I said, "Blue." He says, "You can get hurt doing this stuff." And I said, "You think?" Or something to that effect, Yeah. So he said he had just signed up for, they were going to send him to medical school, yeah. the Army. Yeah. But he had to give him some more, I don't know how many years. Yeah. So that's the last I saw him. Yeah. So then, the second reunion, we had it with Echo Company, and he came. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. We sat down and talked. And he became a hand surgeon. Okay. That's all he did was operate on hands. Yes. So we spent a couple of days ago, telling old war stories and stuff. And he says, "You ever go back to Vietnam?" I said, "Why?" And he says, "I could use you." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, he volunteered. He did hand surgeries on Vietnamese. Okay. He's retired. He has his own practice. Yeah. And he did it on his own. Yeah. And I said, and he says, "Yeah, I've been there twice. I'm going again." And he says, you want to go?" He says, "I can use help." And he says, "It's not all work. We go nice places. They got tourist places over there, beaches." Yeah. And he says, will you go? You want to go?" And I says, "Yeah, I'd go with you, And so I came home. I got a passport. It's the first time I ever had a passport. But then I think he wrote a book, or I had some books that we knew that friends wrote about Vietnam, and I sent him some books, and we corresponded. I got some of his letters, and but then he never went back. He called me and told me that the project was over. They didn't have funding or something. He wasn't going back. But I haven't heard. I don't know if he's still alive or not. Boy, but he was. Oh, he come up with crazy. He was crazy.
Captain Jackson?
Jackson, yeah.
Good leader?
He was a lieutenant, and then he became captain.
Yeah. Good leader?
Hmm?
Good leader?
Oh, I'll tell you. He's one guy. He had me doing, stuff I'd never do for somebody. He was a natural leader. Yeah. I mean, he come up with the stuff. Usually you'd take a platoon or a squad. He would hand pick, like, we're squad leaders, and he'd take me and Harbottle and Doc, and Blue, you were the good point man. You're going to be point. We're taking Doc, and we're going to give Red the machine gun again. He says, "See that village? We're going in there."
We're going to take it.
And I remember one time we're going to a village, and all of a sudden he starts running. And where you going? So we're running behind him, and no, there was a shot fired at us. He's running into this village, and he sees that there's a some kind of half-assed door on this hooch, and he just runs through it. And I ran through behind him thinking, this could be full. Nothing happened. But I would never do that for anybody, you know.
Yeah.
You don't attack a village because they'd shot at you, you know. But,
Yeah.
but he was, I mean, he was like a bull.
Yeah.
But one thing though, the first day he came to the field,
Yeah.
we had long, he was a little overweight.
Yeah.
And he got heat prostration or heat something.
Yeah.
You know, and they were going to medevac him.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't go.
Yeah.
He stayed out there and toughed it out. I mean, he was puking and he's white and he's clammy and he wouldn't go. You know, he wouldn't go back over. So I said, this guy's tough. You know, I don't know if West Point did it or he was just like that, but I'll bet he was hell on the football field. He had shoulders on him about like that, but not tall. But I'm so glad I got to see him again before. I've got some letters from him someplace.
Nice. Letters from Jackson.
Captain Jackson. But he retired. He was a full colonel, I think, when he retired. Then he had his own practice.
Nice. Yeah,